presented by 11M Cars. The beginning of a decade marked by tension, rebellion, and transformation. The American dream was being questioned, torn at the seams by war, civil unrest, and cultural revolution. But in the heart of Detroit, amidst strikes, layoffs, and an uncertain future, Chevrolet quietly unleashed something bold, something violent, something beautiful. It was the 1970 Malibu SS 454, and to understand why this car mattered, why it still turns heads 5 decades later, you have to understand what America looked like in that moment. In May of 1970, 4 college students were gunned down by the Ohio National Guard at Kent State University. The protest against the Vietnam War spiraled into tragedy, and the images of young Americans lying dead on campus lawns were broadcast across the country. The nation was deeply divided. Faith in government was crumbling, trust in leadership failing. The war in Vietnam raged on. Over 350,000 troops were still deployed. The draft continued, and while some enlisted with pride, others burned their draft cards in the streets. Meanwhile, at home, the civil rights movement had evolved into the Black Power era. The voices were louder, the demands sharper. The murder of Fred Hampton by Chicago police in late 1969 was still fresh in people's minds. The streets were boiling over with tension. Riots broke out in cities across the country. America was restless, aggressive, desperate for identity. And yet, the culture never stopped moving. In 1970, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin died just weeks apart, both at the age of 27. Their deaths marked the end of the psychedelic era, the last gasp of Woodstock optimism. The Beatles officially disbanded. Simon and Garfunkel released Bridge Over Troubled Water. Black Sabbath dropped their debut album, planting the seeds of heavy metal. The sound of rebellion was changing. On the big screen, Patton won Best Picture, but 5 Easy Pieces, starring Jack Nicholson, and MASH showed that Hollywood was ready to explore darker, more complex characters. Anti-heroes were in. The mood had shifted. Dino Botcher, Brian Alps. In sports, a young boxer named Muhammad Ali was fighting his way back into the ring after being stripped of his title for refusing the draft. He became a symbol, not just of athleticism, but of defiance. America was falling in love with rebels. And that's where the 1970 Malibu SS 454 comes in. Because this wasn't a car for the conformist. It wasn't for your average commuter, your suburban dad, or the aging baby boomer who still clung to the Eisenhower years. No, this Malibu was for the gearhead, the speed junkie, the outlaw on the highway.